Chapter 1. Introduction Unwanted. "Run, Katrina, run!" my brother shouted as my legs began racing faster, my heart beating rapidly. Suddenly, a loud boom erupted from behind me before everything went black. I shot up from my sleeping position, sweat dripping from my forehead and tears glistening in my eyes. I was panting as I looked at my surroundings. Nothing but trees and a little stream could be seen nearby. The sun's morning rays shone down through the trees' leaves. It was just a dream. It was just a dream. It was just a dream, I repeatedly told myself as I brought my knees up to my chest and whimpered. Still, I couldn't ignore that little voice inside my head that kept saying, "But it wasn't." I shook my head and sniffed, wiping away the tears with my arm. "Just go away already. Just leave me alone." A minute or so later, after I'd calmed down a bit, I sighed and rose to my feet, glimpsing around before walking forward. My stomach growled, and I placed my hand on it, moaning, "I've got to find something to eat." As I moved on further, I kept looking around for pigs, chickens, sheep, cows, anything I could find, really.
This is an industrious gal.
But there was nothing. Of course, I thought, of course there's nothing in my time of need. Typical. I found a tree with several branches and began climbing. I grabbed the first and closest branch, pulling myself up. I placed my feet on it and rose up, grabbing the next one above me. This process continued until I was high enough to see about half a mile ahead of me. I held into the branch just over my head, so if I stumbled or the branch below me snapped, I would have something to grip and pull myself up onto a safer one. She's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
I looked around. It was what I expected. Trees, streams, grass. More trees. However, as I looked closer, something peculiar caught my eye. Between the trees, just barely visible, was what looked to be a house of some sort. It wasn't big, not from what I could tell anyway, and it was about 50 feet away. What on earth is another person doing all the way out here, I wondered. I never saw anyone else too often, especially when I was out in the woods like this, which was almost all the time. When on the rare occasion I did run into somebody, though, I either just ignored them and walked away, still watching them very closely until I couldn't anymore, or I threatened them until they went away. If I happened to see someone from afar, though, I just avoided them altogether, unless on the off chance they had something I wanted or needed, then it'd be another story. Anyway, I continued gazing at the house a few seconds, turning my head in the other direction. It ain't helping me any by staring at it. I was still trying to find something, anything, that I could eat, but still, no animals remained. I let out an aggravated sigh and started climbing back down, but something caught my attention. I stopped and listened carefully, trying to figure out if I had imagined it or not. Nope, there was that very same sound again. It was like someone was talking. It was from far away, so I couldn't tell. I turned my head to follow the sound, and my eyes landed on that very same house again. I watched for a moment. It was definitely coming from that direction, probably the house. That's what I guessed, and never before had my ears deceived me. I then heard something else, like a moo sound.
Moo.
Not the moo sound. And then that moo was followed by more moos. My ears perked up. Cows? There were cows around here? Where? I mentally questioned, trying to identify exactly where they were coming from. Yeah, them two came from the house or really close to it. What an astute observation. I groaned. Of course that's where they are. Was it really worth it, risking my life for a couple of cows? My thoughts were answered when my stomach grumbled, this time louder than before. K.I. rolled my eyes. Fine, just shut up. So, I slowly and carefully began making my way down the tree, not wanting to accidentally stumble and fall to my death. But since things never go well for me, when I was about 11 feet from the ground, a little bird decided to swoop down and go right for my head, screeching with its little bird windpipes as if saying, "This is my tree. Nobody enters. Leave, trespasser." And since I have a deadly fear of birds, of course you do, I let out a startled and terrified scream, trying desperately with all my willpower to let go of the branch I was currently gripping with a death hold. It went up, but then came back for me again. I covered part of my head and face up with my free arm, while attempting to keep moving away from the flying animal, screaming things like, "No," and "Go away," and even "burrito." How does she know what a burrito is?
I was just wondering that.
Also, burritos don't exist in Minecraft.
Mm,
She must be from an alternate dimension.
she must be.
What? It's my code word for danger. Well, it was at that moment anyway. Okay, you're getting attacked by a bird,
Is she?
and your
getting-
first instinct is to yell burrito.
Maybe she wants to distract the bird to a meal.
Suddenly, without thinking, I let go of the branch to try and shield myself more from this horrific beast. How big is this bird? Is this like a teeny little, like, bluebird or something? Are you running from a hummingbird? Or is it like a hawk?
A mega hawk, a what's that? Pteranodon.
It'll talon you. I'd be scared too. That was a bad choice, and I immediately knew it too. I tried grabbing back onto it, but it was too late. I had already begun falling. I kept my eyes closed and tight, bracing myself for the hard impact with the not-so-forgiving ground that was in the future. In the very near future. My arm hit something as I fell down. I felt whatever hit it snap, so it was probably a branch. Or your bone. It seemed like everything was going in slow motion, like I would never hit the bottom. Well, I did, and it wasn't pleasant. My back, you know, the part between the shoulder blades.
Is that
Your
where
spine?
Your back is? Is that where your spine is?
No, my spine is at the bottom left. Well, I did, and it wasn't pleasant. My back, you know, the part between the shoulder blades, you know, obviously, landed on one of the tree's roots
No, I didn't know that was obvious.
that just happened to be sticking up out of the dirt, making the fall all the more painful. I grunted and suddenly felt slightly breathless. Yeah, you just fall like 10 feet from a tree. You feel slightly breathless, not like you're dying or anything. Not 2 seconds later, something hard like wood hit me on the forehead before bouncing off and landing elsewhere. How are you still conscious? How are you, like, recalling this with so much detail if you fell from a tree and then got whacked in the head with a branch? How do you not have brain damage, at least? I brought my hand up to my head and groaned, slowly opening my eyes. I coughed a little, trying to gain back the air I had lost. After a minute to recover, I sat up and rubbed at my back. That's gonna be sore, I thought, already imagining the bruise that it was forming. I looked at the branch that had whacked my head. It was more of a stick, actually. It was thin and small, no more than a few inches long. How does she know what inches and feet are? Like, okay, she's lived in the woods her whole life.
No school, no socialization.
Like, nobody taught her this stuff.
Maybe in the Minecraft world, it's just immediately, instantly, automatically input.
No, but that's the thing. There are no feet. There are no feet and inches in Minecraft. They measure things in blocks. Feet don't exist. Like, actually, feet don't exist. The characters are all cubes.
Yes.
It's just a bunch of, like, rectangles. Yes. It didn't feel that way when it landed, though. I picked it up and examined it, questioning how something so little could hurt so much. Stupid stick, I muttered. Then I looked up at where the bird had attacked me. Stupid bird. I glanced at the tree. Stupid tree. I threw the stick at the trunk and it bounced back and hit me in the head again. Ow! I planted my face inside my hands. Stupid everything. My stomach growled again. Shut up, I yelled, my voice muffled. It rumbled, this time much louder. I said, shut up. She is a little bit moody. Then again, I guess she just fell from a tree, so. It did it again. I groaned out of pure aggravation and got to my feet. All right, I'm going. I marched towards the direction of the house, ignoring the pain in my back and head. Once I got closer, I slowed down and listened for anyone's voice. I only heard the cow's constant moos, which was, by the way, also getting very annoying. I saw the house in the distance, only about 15 or 20 feet away. There was a door, so I assumed that was the front part. I don't think she knows back doors exist. I squinted my eyes and also saw the cows. They were fenced in about 2 feet away from the right side. Great, that's what I need right now. A challenge. I scoffed quietly and continued walking closer, steadily approaching. Nobody was still in sight, but just to be safe, I turned and went to the back of the house, just so no one could just walk outside and see me. I squatted down in the bushes and stared at the cows, debating whether I should go through with this plan or not. My stomach growled for the hundredth time that day, which answered my question. I scanned the area to make sure it was safe one more time before taking a deep breath, getting out my wooden sword and gripping it tight and sprinting to the cow pen. Okay. She's lived in the woods her whole life. So she knows all these survival skills. She knows how to hunt. She knows how to do all this. And she's in Minecraft. At this point, she should have like a diamond sword. She should be decked out in diamond armor. She should have a base. Which I assume she doesn't because she woke up under a tree. Why doesn't she at least have a house? You can build things from scratch in Minecraft. She's been surviving this long. How has she not built anything like this? How does she not have good armor or weapons or some kind of place to stay in? Once there, I effortlessly jumped the fence and began hitting a cow with my weapon. Poor cow. It let out a painful moo every time the sword came in contact with its flesh. I worded this so horrifically. I decided to make this all the more difficult and run around the pen so I'd have to chase it. Oh my word, an animal trying to escape certain death? I can't imagine. It was like a game of cat and mouse. It went everywhere inside the pen, and I had to follow, hitting it every now and then. After about 30 seconds, I heard a creaking kind of noise, like a door had been opened. I instantly regretted my decision to go there in the first place, knowing I was about to be dead meat. Kinda like that cow would have been if it would have just let me kill it. But no, it's never that simple. Forget this. I'm not dying for some lousy cow. I'm out of here. Was my thoughts as I quickly jumped back over the fence and ran back into the woods. I just barely caught a glimpse of somebody running outside before I booked it. I ran as fast as I could through all the trees while also avoiding them. My stomach rumbled. Again. Oh, I tried, just can it already. You can tell she's been living alone for so long because she talks to her body parts regularly. After a minute of running, I started becoming weak. The hunger was taking its toll on me. I stopped and dove behind a tree. Being quiet and listening to see if the person who owned the house was following me. I was hearing something, but I wasn't sure if it was footsteps or not. I peeked around the tree and came face to face with a creeper. Ah, I exclaimed, jerking back with surprise. But I jerked back right into another creeper. The first one exploded and knocked me back into a tree. Why are there creepers out in the daytime? It's not night. Creepers spawn at night. Creepers spawn at night. Monsters come out at night. They would have despawned during the day. They wouldn't be roaming in the forest. Then the other made a sizzling type noise before it too exploded. I flew what felt like 10 feet. I bounced a couple times on the ground, then I went into a hole. A very, very, very deep hole. I was able to grab the edge before I fell, though. I looked below me and gasped. I couldn't even see the bottom. Just blackness. It was like an endless black abyss. I brought my other hand up and gripped the ledge, starting to pull myself up. My hand must have landed on a pebble when I was moving it further, because the next thing I know, I only have one hand holding my weight instead of two. I worded this really well. The other was dangling down. This was it. I was too weak to pull myself up. I closed my eyes, accepting my fate. I lost my hold, and I began falling. But I stopped suddenly. I didn't feel an impact, so of course I was confused. Am I in heaven? I wondered, opening my eyes to look around. I tilted my head up and saw something that surprised me greatly. I saw a boy. He had grabbed my hand. Easy, it's okay. I gotcha, he said, pulling me out of the hole and my inevitable doom. Once I was on my feet, he let go, and I stared at him with shock and question, looking him up and down. He was a little taller than me. He had blonde, wavy hair, cyan blue eyes, and was wearing goggles on his head. He looked about 19.
This is a lot of deep thinking.
Yeah, she was able to recall this really well from someone who almost died like twice in the past hour. Are you alright? He asked, looking at me with slight concern. Heaven forbid. I didn't answer immediately. I immediately just continued staring at him, trying to decipher whether he was for real or not. Are you hurt? He questioned, stepping closer to me. I flinched away and stepped back. I was beside the hole, so I didn't fall into it again. She just had to clarify that. Stay away, I warned, getting ready to draw my sword. Oh, wait. My sword! I had dropped it down the hole. Terrific. It's okay, I won't hurt you, he said, putting his hands up to emphasize. Yeah, right. I raised an eyebrow. I know, I'll kill you before you can, was my reply. The confidence of this girl. He just saved your life.
Not just confidence, but impudence and gall. Audacity. Yeah.
He looked taken aback by my comment.
She's very nice.
She's so nice.
And she's also got a very good vocabulary.
She really does. For someone who's uneducated, she is phenomenal. Exceptional memory, too. You don't have to worry. I'm not. You're the one who should be worried, I threatened. He could have let you fall. You would not be alive. I already said I wouldn't hurt you. Believe me. Yeah, 'cause that's gonna happen. He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck, trying to figure out what to do or what to say. He was probably regretting saving your life, since you're disrespecting him so much. Look, if you want, I can just go. Please do. Okay, I'm leaving, he said, walking by me and towards the direction I had come from. Oh, I started. Thanks for the help. Oh, she is polite. He turned his head and gave me a light smile. You're welcome, I'm Lukas. And I don't have time for introductions, so bye-bye. I waved and gave a fake smile. Why is she sassy? Where did she learn these personality traits from? She's been alone since she was a kid.
I think her vocabulary would consist of
a bunch of caveman grunts.
A bunch of caveman grunts.
She'd
and
know
maybe an occasional word.
Me hungry. Me eat.
Me
you cow. Okay then. Goodbye. He started walking away. My stomach was still rumbling, just like thunder. I still felt really weak. Suddenly, I couldn't stand straight. I began stumbling side to side. I grasped my stomach and groaned like a zombie. My vision started going black and blurry. I could slightly see him turn around to check out what that sound was. His eyes widened and he rushed over to me. The last thing I remember after that is everything going dark. Why would he even remotely care? You were so rude to him. Why would he care if you passed out? Just, he should just knock you off balance and send you plummeting into the dark abyss that is the hole.
That's what I was just sitting here thinking.
I mean, I definitely would. You treat me that way after I save your life. After you tried to kill my cow!
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
Talk
so
about
gracious.
Insult to injury.
Oh my goodness. She's so likable. Like, it's no wonder she's lived alone in the woods for so long. She is not a good part of society. And, this is like entirely no paragraphs in this thing. It's just a wall of text.
It's a run-on. It's one big run-on.
I stopped using paragraphs for some reason. It's really hurting my eyeballs. Trying to make sense of all of this. It's just jumbled chaos. Okay. That was chapter 1. It was so good. I just can't wait to read more.